Have you ever tried dating 3 people, co-parenting, running a business, and still finding time for yourself? Spoiler, it's not just a communication issue, it's a logistics nightmare. So this week on Nope, We're Not Monogamous, Richie joins me to talk about why scheduling is actually one of polyamory's biggest pain points, and how his new app, Pi, is helping partners build trust, consent, and connection without drowning in their Google calendars. Welcome back to Nope, We're Not Monogamous, the podcast where we tell all the truths about love and sex and relationships outside of the monogamous box. I'm your host, Alicia Payne, and today we're tackling something that polyamory memes make look funny, but that actually breaks relationships faster than even jealousy does. It's the logistics. My guest is Richie, a software guy turned polyamory problem solver who, after his partner's cancer journey, they shifted their priorities and discovered that the hardest part of opening up wasn't the emotions, it was the calendar. So now he's on a mission to help the polyamorous community manage their schedules, their boundaries, and consent without burning out or blowing up their relationships. We're talking about why scheduling is an unsolvable math problem, and how lack of informed consent sneaks into date planning, and why structure might actually free us up for more intimacy. This conversation's going to give you a whole new lens on the L word. Not love, logistics. Cool. Okay, so, welcome to Nope, We're Not Monogamous.
Thank you.
You're so
Thanks for
welcome.
having me. Yeah.
So, I have been really interested to talk to you because we've had a few back and forth emails about your app, which looks amazing. And so I've been really curious about you and what brought that about and more about the app and whatnot. Um, so before I ask you a million questions about that, can you can you just share for the listeners a little bit about who you are?
Sure. Well, so outside of the spicy life, I am a 40, soon to be 41-year-old. I'm turning 41 on Saturday. With my little family out in the middle of the mountains in British Columbia, Canada, um, which is interesting on the spicy side because we apparently love to travel everywhere. We live in a town of about 9,000 people. It's a ski town, like kind of like your Telluride kind of idea, um, which we love. Also obviously into a lot of outdoors activities and mountain biking, skiing, all that fun stuff. But it's a town of 9,000 people, so there's very cool people, interesting people here, but there's also discretion and a lot of travel to like kind of the next town over to meet people.
Yeah.
Um, on the spicier side of things, my partner and I have been um, we opened our relationship about a year ago ish. My wife went through a year-long successful battle with breast cancer, um, which makes you kind of reevaluate what life is about and how to appreciate it that much more. And that's kind of started the conversation of, well, we've been married for a long time, and what else is going on out there? And that's just opened up a whole journey when on our, in terms of our relationship, meeting people, getting honestly surprisingly into poly, and then learning what that whole world's been about. Um, but then also combining that with so my professional background from the last several years has been in software development as what you call product manager. So not the usual techie guy coding things, but more so the person who talks to people and figures out what problems they have to solve and kind of figure out the business case for things. And actually, the first folks that we got involved with in poly, um, some of those first conversations were like, huh, what is this all about? That's, not necessarily what we were expecting, but we're interested. Well, those first conversations were actually about scheduling, which was surprising. You kind of come in expecting this is going to be, salacious and fascinating. And it is, but, um, they also, like us, we have a young kid, so do they. And that just means there's a lot of life to plan around. and they'd been in poly for several years. So they were, kind of veterans of figuring out who can date when, who's actually available, what details do you share or not, or what have you. So I was just kind of spellbound by this. But then they're just talking about how much work it all is, and it isn't a solved thing. Which, as a person who likes to help people with technology, I was like, huh, maybe there's something here. And that's how I started digging in. So that led to Pi, which is the app I've been working on. I think it was kind of May was when I started on it, and it's now a real thing, which you can actually use to improve your dating life and balance all your relationships and that, which is, it's awesome to get it to this point. But and we're trying to also get feedback and make it a really useful tool.
Yeah.
So without getting too deep into that journey, that's kind of it not only did it, mean building some piece of technology, but it's also meant talking to dozens of people and, reading every Reddit post I can find and just learning a ton about how people manage this crazy life we call poly.
Yeah.
Um, I'm kind of keen to talk about and share what I've learned, learn a lot more, because it's a bottomless source of information and intrigue.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. First of all, thank you for sharing all of that, and congratulations to your wife for beating the big C there. That's terrifying. Can
It
you
was.
can you share a little bit about how that moment shifted your relationship structure?
Well, yeah. So, I mean, it really was for us. Like, we've been married, 12 plus years at that point. And I think, both of us are, people who like other people. We have we've always been people who are community builders.
Yeah.
And of course you meet people who are, extra interesting, but, in the normal bounds, you kind of, set that aside. And when my wife got through that journey, we were starting to talk about, like, well, what is this all about? Like, what is life? We've got all the basics in arranged now. We've overcome this big struggle. Um, it's got to all be worth it, right? The struggle has to be worth something. And I can't even remember the specific conversation, but opening up our relationship came to the fore. It's just something that we were both interested in,
Yeah.
and curious about. And that's where we always start, right? Is,
Yeah.
hey, what's going on out there?
What are the
And
options?
that's where it's, yeah, turns out there's a few. Yeah. And then, like, we were lucky, like, our relationship was really strong, especially after the cancer journey. So, we weren't coming at it from a place of deficit, but, you know, how do you also extend that strong sense of bonding? Like any monogamous couple, you wear into the patterns, and then suddenly something disrupts and you're like, wow, you can be a lot more intimate with each other than you had previously been. And then so we wanted to keep building on that.
Yeah.
But of course, if otherwise, if you don't do anything different, you will settle back into the same patterns you had before. We didn't want life to be the same.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes so much sense. Absolutely. Absolutely. A lot of the people I talk to, um, a lot of the struggles that people imagine there are, or really focus on, are the emotional struggles, the feelings. And you have mentioned that scheduling is one of the biggest issues. So why do you think that logistics get kind of forgotten or underestimated so much?
Because they show up as communication and emotional issues. I
Mm-hmm.
really, the more I've talked to people, there's that cause and effect, right? And I often think what we think is the cause is the effect, right? Because when we're having happy conversations and just connecting, having out on a date, having a lot of fun, like, those are the happy times, right? Those are the times when there's not a lot of struggle and you're focused on each other and life's good. Where does conflict arise? It's when there are uneven expectations about this date or the status of this relationship. It's, hey, I'm feeling neglected. You've been out a lot with other people and I'm feeling like I'm not seeing you that often. It's, what else have I heard? Sense of security, like literal physical security. Like I'm worried about your security and we haven't talked about how you're protecting yourself or how I can protect you. I mean, it bubbles up in so many ways, but it really does come down to people are living this life and we don't necessarily think to share or we overshare. And we try and plan ahead, but then plans change. That's disruptive. There's a million reasons that the logistics just cause hurt, confusion, misunderstanding. So it's when that thing when you scratch the surface and the Google Calendar keeps showing up. That was really interesting to me.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. It's I'm curious. Okay, when you talk about Google Calendar, what do you mean there? What
Or I mean, as proxy for, because it is the thing I think most people are using right now,
Sure.
as good or bad of it is. It's like, if you're going to try and organize your life at all, that's the free option, right? It's just a way of saying that it's really about the logistics of who's where, with who, doing what. If the right people have the right information and everyone's on page, things run smoothly. As soon as a piece of that breaks down, that'll harm relationships. I'm so sad to read and hear from people who are like, my relationship broke down just because this other partner was fantastic, but couldn't give me a heads up to schedule things. I was constantly surprised.
Yeah.
Like, to me, this is an avoidable problem. So there's the risk to the relationships on that side. But then you hear a lot about polysaturation, burnout, and that's the other side of scheduling is like, it's not just my dating life. I'm scheduling my time overall, and I'm a limited resource.
Yeah.
Right. And I, as especially an ADHD person, totally love to just go down a rabbit hole with people and spend all my time chatting and dating and all that. But there's a real cost that time comes from somewhere. So when people get overwhelmed, you look back at the schedule and think, man, you were really packing your time, right? Were you intentional about the schedule you created? Were you protecting your free time? Were you booking dates out of a sense of obligation, or were you respecting your own needs first? Which it sounds selfish, but it's not.
No.
I need to be able to be well slept, balanced, exercised, show up with being able to be present.
Yeah.
Right. So again, it's like scratch the surface. There's the schedule again.
Yeah. Yeah. And then all of that, being able to take care of yourself, goes back to how you manage the feelings part. The number of
Exactly.
times I have many calendars and shared with many different people, and the number of times that it's been said in my house, oh, I didn't realize you were doing that. Well, I put it on the calendar. Well, there's so much stuff on the calendar, I can't even see it. I don't know.
Exactly.
Like, there's the kids,
Exactly.
multiple partners, businesses, like so many things on the calendar.
Well, I'm, if you can't tell already, quite a nerd. So one of my favorite pieces of information I've come across in my journey was actually an academic study. It was, I think, the University of Edinburgh. They found that polyscheduling, specifically, like trying to get, I think they used a range of 3 to 7 partners to align schedules, is one of the most challenging mathematical problems in math. It's not solved, and there are speculations it will never be solved. It is so complex because you think you've got it all arranged, and then one person's schedule changed. You can't go on one day. Well, now if you backfill that with another date, then that's means you're not at home, which means that your other partner can't go. Like, it explodes. It's actually a crazy undertaking.
Yeah.
What we're doing here, right? And that's aside from being interesting, and I think like it gave me a lot of empathy and sympathy for people. Like, we are doing something extremely hard,
Yeah.
and with real consequences, like hurt feelings and surprises lead to real impact, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're doing something hard here.
Yeah. We really are. It's truly.
It's academically verified. It's really hard.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and you were speaking to, I am actually somewhat curious if I might toss the question back. I'd love to hear more about just how, because you've got a ton of experience. You're obviously very good at what you do. Tell me a little bit about how you manage your schedule with the many different things you've got going on. What does that look like?
It's not that bad anymore. Um,
In
my kids are teenagers and they don't have as many things that take my time, uh, which is really helpful compared to when they were little and had like a million things. Um, and my partners have pretty predictable schedules, which is really nice. But we still run
oh,
into, which nights are available to hang out, which ones aren't. And then that changing, oh shoot, I forgot that my other partner had this going on. We got to change it. Like we still run into that all the time. Um, yeah.
well, and I like the what's out there right now. Again, I'm not picking on Google Calendar because actually I integrate with Google Calendar. I think it's super important to keep and useful for scheduling the rest of your life, right? Um, I think you're like of all the people I've talked to in my experience, like you're on this like sophisticated side. You've got the like multiple shared calendars set up. You color coding things
Oh
probably.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, doing all the things. You're doing everything right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it took a long time to
And
figure
then
that out.
one, long time. Two, probably a lot of investment,
Yeah.
like figuring out what actually works. And then you're probably on the upper end of that, spectrum of like people who are like highly organized and actually like spending time on the calendar to like the YOLO folk, like just vibing their way through life. Usually haven't seen a calendar in years, but love being on text,
I
right?
hated
And like,
calendars until I became polyamorous. And I was like, and it wasn't
no,
it wasn't the
right.
polyamory that I needed it for. It was actually just the multiple different parts of my life that I was like, oh, I got to
Yeah, yeah,
figure
yeah.
this out or I can't function.
Well, that was our experience too, is it takes, our lives were always busy. Like we're in still that young kid bracket. There's the after school activities,
Yep.
whatever. I mean, that's very predictable. But then it just takes all that. It's just like cranks that up to 10, right? Where, um, well, like, so yeah, one is like literally logistically, you got to find time for stuff. And one side of it is like, it's depressing to hear when people are like, yeah, we sit down on a Sunday and we open up two laptops and have two phones going so that we can see four calendars at once. And, you know, isn't it wonderful? Would it be wonderful if everything was in one view? Fantastic, right? Typical software stuff. But then the other side, like you're talking about, it's the emotional side of like, suddenly it's really important to know what's coming up because not only are you like logistically worried, like, am I around, but like, am I emotionally prepared for my partner to see a new partner? What work do I need to do ahead of time? How much time do I need? Do I need like 2 weeks heads up to like have some processing time, think about things? I think that's pretty reasonable. Or, plans change. Well, how can I give as much head notice as I can? Or one thing I built in right away I knew was super important beyond just the timed and dates were things like boundaries, right? We, I think from what I've talked to people, like consent is super important, but it's very informal. Like it's like, hey, didn't we talk about that at some point by text or, where was that in the text messages or we were on the phone? I talked about it last date. Well, you know, boundaries around using protection or when, is an overnight okay? What activities are okay? Should we bring our families or not, right? All this stuff. If it's not written down in a place where everyone can see it, I'd argue you don't actually have consent. You're not informed to consent, right? And that's a real risk where I thought you were going to do this, but you didn't. Like even like it's happened to us where it's just like, oh, we didn't think to talk about that. So having like hey, I got to sit down. I'm going to fill out, you know, this is where I'm booking, and these are the boundaries I'm expecting. It's an important exercise, but then, so in my system, that's right on the date invitation, the booking, and all that. So then when everyone says yes to that, they're saying yes to not only the date and time, but they're like, oh, and I know that they're going this place. They're going to check in at this time. They're going to do these things. They're not going to do these things. Um, this is it. It doesn't. It's not about layering on restrictions. It's just about everyone knowing and agreeing expressly in what I call informed consent.
Yeah.
Right. That's where trust is actually built rather than lost. Can you do that with your Google Calendar? Sure. Like there's a description section in there. Use it aggressively, but I think it's something too important for just a conversation. It's something that needs to endure a bit. So I think it needs to be part of the way you think about, arranging your dating life.
That's actually really brilliant. The idea of the example that comes to mind for me is a couple has these agreements that they've created around dating outside. But whoever they're dating maybe doesn't know what those agreements are. It hasn't come up. It hasn't like, or they just aren't sharing it. And so actually having it there as like a written, like it reminds me of combining your Google Calendar with like a dating owner's manual. Like, here's all of
Yeah,
my
yeah, exactly.
information that is important for you to have before you date me, before we spend time intimately or whatever. That's brilliant.
Well, and then like part of it, what inspired that for us was the, when you're starting out in opening your relationship, you have no clue what you're talking.
Yeah, no.
Right? Like, yeah, you're going by feel. You're meeting people. Like, I think initially we'd even said like no polyamory, or
Yeah,
that's too
very
much.
common.
And then, or some of the first people we were like, oh well, that actually doesn't seem that bad at all. Like they've kind of figured out what's going on here. So it's like it evolves. So writing like one document to rule them all, the stone tablets doesn't actually reflect reality. Like consent and boundaries change over time depending on the person, and that's okay. But it's not doesn't mean it's not important to write it down, share it, and then all agree to it.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a really healthy practice to adopt, right?
Yeah. 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 That's lovely. We lean really heavily on conversation to make things work. But it sounds like having that little bit of structure actually frees up our conversation time.
That's exactly. Exactly. Like, well, yeah, because it comes up like one, you don't want to spend all your time talking about logistics. It's boring and it actually sucks a little bit of energy, right?
Yeah.
Like, um, when I talked about like before, like the monogamy groove, I think a lot of that comes from the fact that you just get used to talking with like about logistics all the time with the same person. So you start to see them as like, hey, you're your business partner, right?
Yeah.
So I'm a fan of talking about logistics just enough,
Mm.
right? And those conversations are important. So it's one thing to have them, and you don't want to spend a lot of time on them. But then it's like those omissions, and like I mentioned, I'm ADHD, and God bless this community we're in. There's a lot of neurodiversity,
Uh-huh.
right? With that comes executive function deficits. I forget to mention things
Yeah.
from time to time. Um, and I feel so bad when it's like, oh, I forgot to mention, I forgot to ask, right? I talked about it, but I forgot to write it down.
Yeah.
And then the consequence comes the broken trust, the disappointment, the expectations that maybe were a bit inflated. And I'm like, I legitimately feel bad. And it's kind of my fault. I didn't raise this. I mean, there's no good reason not I didn't, but I'm part of my mission here is just to support people from the paying the mental tax, the neurodiversity tax that I occasionally pay. So that's another side to it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You didn't tell me. I'm sure I did. My God, we've had that
Oh yeah,
conversation so many times. I didn't know about this.
yeah,
I'm positive I told you. Maybe I didn't.
yeah,
I don't know. I
yeah,
can't keep track of
yeah.
who I told things to.
And then it's when that information was in the right place that you're actually going to look at it. Because again, you could write things down on a piece of paper, and for me, it will disappear. It's gone.
Yeah.
But if it's on that date booking that I know is coming up, I'm gonna check it. I get a notification like, oh yeah, that date's coming up. Oh, right. That thing. Oh, I forgot to talk about that. If I can catch myself 2 days ahead of time, that's so much better than catching myself at the moment, right? When I'm on the way out the door. Oh, by the way,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm curious, where did you get the name for the app?
mm, I followed the sorry, I'm a bit sarcastic by nature. I
No.
followed the well-worn app path of taking a popular word and changing one letter. I don't know if that, um, the idea of
Uh-huh.
pie came from, everyone wants a slice of you. The pie is your time, and you're very tasty. People, we are very tasty, and we're delicious. And so everyone wants a slice. So how do you divide that pie up, right? Um, yeah. So again, it becomes more than scheduling. It's really about how do I manage my relationship life. Was That's where the name came from, and it made a kind of interesting logo too, and you can riff off pie all day. It's a fun, very fun marketing this thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. I thought that that's what it was, but I was like, maybe there's something else there.
No, it's not that deep. No, no. There's
I mean,
although there was uh in between here, like I said, we live in a small town that's away from other towns. So like the one partner was like 2 hours away, but there's a great bakery in between here and there. So as she was giving advice on the app, I actually like bought her a pie one day and brought it to her. I'm like, oh, thank you. So it worked.
that's amazing. That's amazing. You mentioned earlier safety, and I'm curious, what are some like creative or unexpected ways people use their scheduling for safety?
Right. Um, yeah, something. Well, okay. First of all, like define what we're talking about safety. Like what I hear when I talk to people is like there's like emotional safety, in it, but I'm talking about literal safety. And as a male, don't truly can't truly appreciate how big of a risk it is to go out
Hmm.
as a meeting someone, especially if it's new. But partner violence exists, and it's not limited to monogamous relationships.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm talking about like physical or like serious emotional safety, where it's like, am I or is my partner going to be treated well? What's the backup plan? So, um, it's as simple. It can be as simple as like setting an expectation, like check in, like I expect as the stay-at-home partner, you're gonna check in when you get there and before midnight, right? None of those are really simple, but it's just like then it's not awkward when you're like pausing something. You're like, 1 sec, it's coming up on midnight. I better jump out and send a text here.
So
No surprises
yeah,
in
so it's like a
that, right?
pre-established expectation rather than I have to interrupt
Yeah,
the conversation.
yeah. Or like if it's a new connection, this is going to be in a public place because that's safer, or only, it'll only go to a private place if, I talk first or whatever. We'll share locations or whatever. So like there's the basic stuff like that. But then a couple of interesting ones have come across. I mean, sharing STI testing documentation in a digital format. Um, So there's a little bit of trust but verify there, but and then also, another partner, seeing that exists, this is where, and we can probably talk about privacy a little bit later and discretion, but like, being able to share that with the appropriate people is real confidence building. So that was one interesting request. Less on the poly side, more on the E&M open relationship side. Um, folks will say, okay, we're going to talk for a week. And then at the end of the week, I'm going to like invite you to set up a date, but we want to send me a face shot, right? Just to just so my partner knows, if anything went awry, who this is. And it also demonstrates like, hey, I'm actually got some skin in the game. I'm gonna put myself out there before that first meeting. I thought that was really interesting. Like just as a way of one, like filtering out people who are maybe unserious or have nefarious purposes, but two, just like that confidence building between partners. So those were things that have built into the app to facilitate safety that way.
That's amazing. That's fantastic. How,
This is the beauty of building like something specifically for our community is that there are all these niche considerations and uh, yeah, stuff that you can do and structure right in so it becomes, passe to just do this stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. How does privacy play into it?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's two sides to it. One is like literal data privacy. And I mean, I'm very sympathetic and always watch out for our friends in the United States right now. And it's not unique in the globe right now that this, rising kind of enforcement of socially conservative values. But we see, like how scary is it that people's autism data is being collected in a central database by government right
Right.
now. And even in Canada, there's a bill on the table right now that would make it so that police wouldn't need a warrant to grab data out of even dating apps about people's connections like that. Not like maybe not in a ton of depth, but still to know like, oh, they signed up for that app, they're a user there.
Right.
So I've been following what's called GDPR, like European standards in hosting in Europe
Yeah.
because they tend to be the most aware. But like there is that literal security, encryption, all that stuff. So that's super important considering the information we're quietly sharing about each other in our calendars, who's connected with who, when. Like
Yeah.
it is interesting material. Um, I mean, we don't love to think about that too often, so I'll do that for you.
Yeah.
But then there's like the more like what I call the discretion side, right? Where you're trying to give people the information they need to one plan, but two, like to build trust without oversharing. We're all trying to avoid jealousy. We're all trying to keep a balance in our relationships. And that's, I think, actually where one of the areas where the current calendar offerings fall down because they were never built for that. Like Google Calendar, Outlook, they were built for offices
Yeah.
where everyone shares mostly everything. You can book into anyone's calendar anytime, get in there, see what they're up to because it's all business
Yeah.
stuff, right? Or it's like one-to-one, but they weren't contemplating a scenario where, oh, my home partner needs to see some details about where I'm going to be and who I'm going to be with. But I don't want to share that with 3 other people. But I want those 3 other people to still be able to see when I'm available,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Right. And I want those 3 people to see when I'm available, but not like every time. Like I don't want them booking in a Thursday afternoon. That's when that's when I go biking or something like that. Like I want these specific people to see this specific time. I want them to book this often, and that may be different between partners. Every relationship's different. So that's where I think it gets tricky, even with Google Calendar, to kind of keep everyone in the right level of information. And the consequences if there's too much or too little information, breaking trust. I don't know that like it's just uncomfortable to think that there's going to be a little leak.
Right.
And it not to say it's nefarious. It's just we're all trying to keep everyone in a happy place and focused on each other, not this whole complicated life we're living.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. I love that. Looking ahead, what is your like dream vision for how this app could shift how people like date and connect and do life?
So one, I would love to see. I mean, you're never going to end polysaturation or burnout. It's going to happen. I'd love
We
to
all
cut
tend to be a
into it
little
seriously.
overindulgent.
Yeah. I mean, we'd be boring people to date if we weren't indulgent people,
Yeah.
right? That's half the fun is just getting to each other. But like the needless stuff where I just like I overschedule myself or I like overcommit and now I feel like I'm not doing justice by anyone. I don't think that's
Yeah.
necessary, right? With the right solution, we can avoid that. Um, One big foundational piece of my app that's very different than everything else out there is that first thing you do is you set your dating schedule specific to dating before you book anything. Like it's just laying out, this is when I want to be available, right? There's no booking into empty spaces wherever in the calendar is good. It's like, I want, Thursday evenings, uh, Saturday nights and Sunday mornings, but only every 2 weeks. That number of hours, those times just generally work well for me, like just an example. But setting that out ahead of time, one, it like enables you to do a bunch of other stuff, but two, I love the practice of it. It's very intentional. Saying, absent of my partners and obligations, just like what's good for me and what's going to let me show up well, right?
Mm.
Where I'm not going to be distracted, not overtaxed. Um, that foundation of saying it's like inclusive availability, or it's you book to the schedule you really want and intend to offer, and then you're automatically only sharing that. So it's like a bit of a tweak on how people think about their schedules, and I like that. And I'd love people to think more intentionally about when do I actually want to date and what's my actual capacity. That wards off a whole bunch of problems right off the bat. So I'd love to see that they cut down on burnout. Um, it's simple, like more love, less logistics. Like the less we can talk about, like let's talk about the good stuff. Let's talk about the interesting stuff. Like how do we come up with the boundaries that we're gonna use? Let's not have those constant conversations. Well, remember we talked about like those are boring or sucky conversations. Like let's focus on the meaningful stuff with our time. So I'd love to see that shift.
Yeah.
And then like the privacy side, both the discretion and the data privacy, like um, there's no reason people should feel insecure about what they're sharing out there, right? Um, when you feel secure about the information you can share, then you feel free to actually share what matters.
Mm-hmm.
Um, those surprises that come up where you forget to share something or you overshare something or whatever, again, fully unnecessary. It breaks my heart when you see relationship posts like on Reddit where people are like, oh, I forgot to tell someone this, or like my partner just never includes me in their plans. It's so heartbreaking because it's not needed at all. Um,
Yeah.
at the same time, I don't expect everything to be becoming a scheduling expert. So part of the mission with this is just to make it easy. Like you log in, you link to your partner, and then it all magically appears, and it highlights the important stuff without having to do a lot of setup. Because realistically, not everyone's going to love scheduling. So how can we do the least amount of it, but do it well?
Yeah.
That's my question. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. That's so good.
Yeah.
Is there anything I haven't
So,
asked you that you want to share?
uh, well, I think we've been touching on the app in a few different ways, but sort of giving an actual walkthrough just to kind of talk about like because everyone got their different scheduling process, right?
Yeah.
Like you're talking about, you have the shared calendar color patterns route, talk to people who do the pure conversation route, and then there's space in between it. Then you just bears mentioning, I do encourage people to check out the website, check out the app. I'll touch on that in a bit. But just to give you a sense of what's happening in this app, what's the deal here? So one big piece is setting your own dating schedule, that intentional planned ahead dating schedule that sets up when you're available. So it doesn't commit you to anything. It just says, hey, this is when you could book with me. That's piece one. Then depending on whether if your other partners are also using Pi, then it's super easy. It just like links up all the calendars automatically. It'll find when times are blocked based on your Google Calendar, your partner's Google Calendar, whatever you set up. And they can even jump in and see when you're available and book right in. Like you don't have to give a heads up. Or you can send out an invitation right? Not it's a link you can fire into any chat, WhatsApp, Facebook message, whatever. Um, and the great thing there is it gives us time options, right? So it'll say this is when this person's actually available. Here are the boundaries and all that. And then as time gets booked up or life events come up, that all gets blocked off automatically. So, kind of technical, but at the end of the day, it just means that you have arranging a date is as simple as here's the link. And you can set it and forget it, and you'll just see, oh, now I've got a date in 2 weeks, or oh, now we've booked 3 dates in the next 6 weeks. Often I wanted to see them about every 2 weeks. Fantastic. So that's a big piece of it. The privacy piece, there's a ton of detail, but the bottom line is I've just made everything controllable. Would you want who to see? Adjusted by partner, adjusted across the board. How much time do you need ahead of time? You don't want someone booking a date like 2 hours before they show up at your front door. All of that's controllable. So that's what lets you kind of protect everyone's privacy and be discreet without undersharing or hiding things. Yeah. So that's kind of the core of it. It's simple, but it's just really well adapted. I've been talking, like I said, to dozens, reading posts from hundreds of people, just getting a good idea of what does our community need.
Yeah.
So it's built right into the app. And I think it's pulling that all together that makes it a much better option than Google, even for people that do have that really sophisticated setup. It's just about making it easy then.
Yeah. 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 What, and are you like beta testing it now? How's that work?
Yeah. So, this is a real neat, kind of neat time. So, it's out in beta test right now. It's functionally usable. I've got, I think, just about 20 people kind of with accounts using it more or less. The big thing I need right now is just feedback from the community.
Yeah.
People to get in there, use it, tell me, how it's improving things, how it's not, what more do you need, what's not working. I'm serious about wanting this to be like a great tool for the community. So I think I've set probably 30 more spots where I'm like, hey, for the feedback you give me, you can have this free forever. Because it's just super valuable to get feedback from that community. So if people are interested in signing up, totally free for about the next 30 people. The afterward, I'm still keeping, it's like, it'll be around $7 a month.
Nice.
This is again, it's about having impact and also recognizing if your partner's on it, life's that much better. So I don't want to throw up cost barriers, just get everyone on it. And then you don't have to talk that much about scheduling anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But for now, please jump in and test it, play with it. Just all I ask is feedback.
Yeah. Yeah. How do people find it?
Sure. Well, the website is Love Pie, which is pie is spelled Pye. That's the clever branding term there. www.lovepie.com. There's a wait list function there. If you sign up, I'll shoot you an email and get you set up. Or if you're so bold, you can go directly to it. It's I think app.lovepie.com/sign-up. Bit of a mouthful. Either way, happy to get you set up with an account. And I will, I'll probably bug you with an email or two or a Facebook chat or whatever, just to get that feedback and make sure it's like got everything that you need to manage your dating life.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. And I'll put that in the show notes for sure.
Hey, sure, and spelling it out when it's like, or just click the link below.
Or,
It's
whatever.
supposed to come right down or sideways.
When I'm listening to things, I will rarely open the show notes, and some people are always open the show notes. So I think both are really important.
Yeah. I'm curious to hear from you as well. Like I've shared a few of the things I've picked up in terms of tips that I've heard out there and used myself. What other tips do you have, like outside of using Pi? What other tips do you have for people just managing the emotions and the logistics around planning your dating life?
Mm. I think in this regard, I think there is a lot of expectation that is a holdover from monogamy, a lot of like entitlement to partner's time that needs to be put in the trash bin. Um, if we treat our partners like autonomous individuals who get to manage their own time, um, w- it does a couple of things. One, it makes us be more intentional with our relationships, right? We put more intentional effort into them rather than just assuming, well, he doesn't have a date, so the rest of his time's mine. Uh, and then being upset that he made a date in his free time. Um, which I think is super common.
Yeah.
So getting rid of
Yeah.
that like entitlement to our partners, especially if we're nesting or parenting with someone, that happens even more. This like just assumption that everything is together, and if you can kind of drop that a bit, it does a lot of things, right? It prevents resentment and miscommunication, but it also creates this need to have conversations to have more intimacy with each other actually because we aren't making assumptions about, well, I guess we're going to be sitting on the couch Thursday night.
Yeah. The intentional time.
Yeah.
Like, what if I actually had to book in with my home partner, right? And like, oh well, if I said I'm going to be with you for Thursday nights, uh, yeah, maybe I'm thinking I'm not just going to spend it on my phone or watching Netflix. Maybe I'm planning ahead a little bit,
Yeah.
right? It does change. It's a bit of an attitude change. I agree.
Yeah, I
Like it.
actually had to start doing that because I kept hurting my own feelings. I kept having my feelings hurt because I had an expectation that I didn't voice,
Mhm.
that wasn't like nobody did anything wrong. I just thought we were going to be hanging out since you didn't have other plans. And I kept getting my own feelings hurt. And I was like, well, this is really dumb.
Yeah. Oh, dumb's the right word, but I know where you're coming
Yeah.
from, right?
Yeah.
Like, um, that, yeah, it comes back to like, yeah, date time is not taken up by dates. Maybe that by default is just personal time, it's free time, like for like whatever you need,
Yeah.
right? And that there's nothing wrong with that,
No.
right? As long as everyone knows that, oh, like I've actually blocked this off for myself, right? I said I was gonna be available next Thursday, but you know what? It's been a tough month. I'm just gonna block this off for myself. Maybe next time. I'll see you the Thursday after.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. 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 I think just that little thing will make a huge difference for so many people.
Yeah. When you're talking about couples privilege, yes, like just putting everyone on equal footing, like,
Yeah.
yeah, everyone's gonna have to book in with you,
Yeah.
right? Like respect my time and I'll respect yours, right? Like I'm not gonna just because I'm your primary partner say like I'm not gonna like book outside your windows. I'm gonna respect your dating schedule. You belong to you've expressed
It's true.
intentional planning here. I'll respect that. Like I'll follow that pattern, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it
Yeah.
also helps. I think that helps with co-parenting as well, because then you have less of a default parent and more intentional co-parenting.
Yeah. One thing I'm curious about for feedback from the community is whether say you and your home partner are like one of you's now arranged a date. Do you want that to block off your availability too, so you're automatically at home, right? Uh, or is that a prompt to get a babysitter? Like how do you want that to show up to other partners? I'm curious about how people handle those, like, oh, who's on duty kinds of conversations.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I maybe that's
And are they having
what
them?
there. Well, okay. Or yes, or is it just well, first out the door wins?
Right. Right. Exactly. Yeah, amazing. Amazing. This has been really amazing. I'm excited to play with the app some more. Especially now that I have like such a better understanding of what it is and how it works. I downloaded it and I was like, yeah, cool, a calendar. There's some things in here. I don't know. I'm busy. And now I'm like, oh, I
Well,
want to
those
get
are
in there.
fine. So I've built this, like I mentioned, I think earlier in the episode, I don't actually know how to code. My background in the product side. So I've been using AI to write the code, which is amazing because normally this app would have taken a year and a half, 4 months
Right.
to write, and I would have needed a staff. Like it's kind of crazy what you can do. And you like to get things out early, right? So it's a weird spot where I'm like, yeah, I kind of know this isn't perfect yet, but I need people in it. So yeah, I've actually made a few tweaks since then. Like now when you jump in, it asks you, it kind of makes it helps you set up your dating schedule before you even fall on the calendar. So you can kind of see, oh yeah, I get it. Those are where when I'm available. And oh my God, Google Calendar's there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the kind of feedback I need.
Yeah,
That's
that's
good.
fantastic. I love that. I love that so much. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for hosting. Thanks for the conversation. Hopefully this helps. Hopefully this helps people think differently about the L word,
Yeah.
logistics.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's important. It is important stuff. Whew, if you've ever sat with 3 calendars open, 2 phones buzzing, 1 partner sighing in the background, you know exactly why this episode matters. Richie's reminder is that scheduling isn't just boring admin. It's where trust and privacy and safety either get reinforced or slowly unravel. So if you want to check out Richie's app, Pi, and maybe snag one of those free beta spots, head to lovepi.com. I'll pop the link in the show notes for those of you who like to click on things. If today's conversation got you nodding along and laughing or texting your partner that you need a better calendar system, do me a favor, follow this podcast wherever you're listening or watching right now. Rate and review it if you've got 30 seconds. It helps other polyamorous or polycurious folks find us. And of course, share this episode with your polycule or your group chat. Trust me, they'll thank you when you stop triple booking yourself. And that's it for today. So until next time, remember that you're not broken, you're not alone, and you're definitely not monogamous. Bye.